January 31st, 2026, 3:15 a.m. Southern Somalia. 4 MH-60 Black Hawk helicopters descend through darkness toward a terrorist training camp that intelligence says holds 60 al-Shabaab fighters. 32 Delta Force operators are about to conduct a raid that will last exactly 22 minutes. 40 militants will die. 12 will be captured. 4 hostages will be rescued. 0 Americans will be casualties. But those numbers don't tell the real story. Because what those operators found in that camp wasn't just terrorists training for their next attack. It was something far more organized, far more dangerous, and far more connected than anyone expected. This isn't a story about a successful raid. It's about what that raid prevented, and why the timing of that 22-minute assault saved hundreds of lives that nobody knew were at risk. The intelligence had been building for 6 weeks. NSA intercepts, CIA informants, satellite imagery, drone surveillance, all pointing to the same location, a remote compound in southern Somalia, 50 miles from the Kenyan border, in territory controlled by al-Shabaab, the terrorist organization that had been launching attacks across East Africa for over a decade. But this wasn't just a hideout. This was infrastructure, training facility, weapons depot, command center. The compound had permanent buildings, barracks for fighters, armory for weapons, training grounds for tactics. Intelligence estimated 60 fighters on site, plus commanders, plus support personnel. A significant target. What made it urgent wasn't just the numbers. It was the intercepts, encrypted communications that CIA had cracked, planning for something big, something in Kenya, a hotel, Nairobi, specific target, specific date, February 14th, Valentine's Day, when the hotel would be full, hundreds of guests, international visitors, maximum casualties, maximum terror. The intercepts didn't give all details, but they gave enough. The attack was planned. Resources were being staged. Fighters were being trained. And the training was happening at this camp. Stop the camp. Stop the attack. U.S. Africa Command authorized the raid. Not Kenyan forces. Not African Union troops. American Special Forces. Delta Force. The best. Because this couldn't fail. Because the window was closing. Because February 14th was 2 weeks away. The mission planning took 4 days. Satellite imagery analyzed. Approach routes planned. Assault tactics rehearsed. Medical evacuation prepared. Every detail studied. Every contingency planned. They'd hit at 3:15 a.m. Darkest part of night. When fighters would be sleeping. When response would be slowest. When night vision would give maximum advantage. 32 operators. 4 helicopters. 4 8-man teams. Alpha team would hit the main barracks. Bravo team the command building. Charlie team the armory. Delta team perimeter security and blocking force. Fast insertion. Overwhelming violence. Complete surprise. At 2:47 a.m., the helicopters lifted from a forward operating base in Kenya. 60 miles to target. Low altitude. Terrain following. No lights. Pilots using night vision. Radio silence. They flew over wilderness. No roads. No villages. Nothing but scrubland and desert. Perfect for hiding a terrorist camp. Perfect for concealing approach. At 3:12 a.m., the helicopters were 3 minutes out. The operators performed final checks. Weapons ready. Night vision activated. Flashbangs prepped. Everyone knew their role. Everyone knew their sector. Everyone knew the mission. Get in. Eliminate threats. Capture commanders. Rescue any hostages. Get out. 22 minutes maximum. Any longer risked reinforcements arriving. At 3:15 a.m., the helicopters flared over the compound. Fast rope insertion. The operators descended in seconds. Boots on ground. 4 teams dispersing, moving to objectives. The camp was dark, quiet, sleeping. No sentries visible. No security. The terrorists felt safe this deep in their territory. They were wrong. Alpha Team hit the main barracks first, breaching charges on the door. Flashbangs through windows. The explosions shattered the night. The barracks erupted in chaos. Terrorists scrambling, disoriented, blind in darkness. The operators moved through with night vision, seeing everything. The terrorists saw nothing, just muzzle flashes and death. The firefight was one-sided. Trained operators with night vision and automatic weapons against half-awake terrorists with AK-47s, they couldn't aim in darkness. The barracks was cleared in 90 seconds. 14 militants killed, 3 captured. The operators moved to the next building. Stay with me, because what happens in the next 3 minutes reveals why this camp was so important, and what the terrorists were really planning. Bravo Team breached the command building simultaneously. Grenades first, then entry. But this building was different, fortified. The terrorists inside were waiting, had heard the explosions, had weapons ready. They returned fire. Heavy volume, PKM machine gun, AK-47, RPGs. This wasn't half-awake fighters. This was prepared defense. The team leader, Master Sergeant David Rodriguez, assessed quickly. Direct assault would take casualties. They had another option. Charlie Team, do you have the armory? Affirm. Secured. No resistance. Copy. Bravo is pinned at command building. Heavy resistance. Proceeding with explosive breach. Rodriguez's team carried breaching charges, enough to blow through reinforced doors. But in a building full of fighters with ammunition, breaching charges meant killing everyone inside. No captures, no intelligence, but faster, safer for Americans. He made the call. Mission came first. Setting charges. All teams clear the area. 30 seconds. The operators pulled back, placed charges on the building's support wall. Not the door. The wall. Bring the whole structure down. 30 seconds. 20. 10. Detonation. The explosion was massive. The building's wall collapsed. The roof came down. Smoke and dust billowed out. When it cleared, the building was rubble. Anyone inside was dead or buried. The team moved in carefully. Found 6 bodies. All militants. All armed. All positioned for defense. And in the back room, something else. Documents. Laptops. Phones. Intelligence goldmine. But also something Rodriguez didn't expect. A white woman. European. Mid-30s. Chained to a radiator. Alive. Terrified. A hostage. He didn't know her name yet. Didn't know her nationality. That would come later. Right now she was American responsibility. Hostage located. Female. European. Moving to secure. Charlie Team had secured the armory without resistance. Found it guarded by only 2 militants. Both eliminated quietly. Suppressed weapons. They hadn't raised alarm. Inside the armory was an arsenal. 80 AK-47 rifles. 30 RPG-7 launchers. Hundreds of rockets. Ammunition crates. And bomb-making materials. Fertilizer. Detonators. Wiring. Everything needed for vehicle bombs. Suicide vests. IEDs. This wasn't just weapons for fighters. This was weapons for terror attacks. Mass casualties. The Kenya hotel attack would have used these materials. The team leader, Sergeant First Class James Park, radioed command. Armory secured. Significant explosives and bomb-making materials. Request permission to destroy. Too much risk to compound. Evacuate hostages first, then remote detonation after extraction. At 3:21 a.m., 6 minutes into the raid, the compound was mostly secure. 3 buildings cleared, 37 militants killed, 5 captured, 1 hostage rescued. But Delta team on perimeter was reporting movement. Fighters emerging from other buildings, trying to organize, trying to respond. The element of surprise was ending. The perimeter team engaged, controlled fire, night vision giving them advantage. But the militants were learning, taking cover, firing at muzzle flashes, getting coordinated. Some had night vision goggles, Chinese-made, cheaper than American, but functional. The fight was getting more even. 3:24 a.m., the camp's ammunition storage exploded. Nobody knew why. Maybe a stray round, maybe an RPG hitting it, maybe a militant trying to destroy evidence. The explosion was massive. Secondary explosions followed. Ammunition cooking off. Rockets launching randomly. The entire northern section of the compound became an inferno. Flames lighting up the night, destroying the operator's night vision advantage, but also revealing militant positions. Now they were visible, silhouetted against flames. The operators adjusted, switched to regular optics, engaged targets. The firefight intensified. Both sides could see now. Both sides shooting accurately. The tactical advantage was gone. Rodriguez made the call. Form defensive position around LZ. Prepare for extraction. Call in the birds. The operators pulled back, forming a circular defense around the helicopter landing zone, bringing hostages to center, keeping captured militants secured. The helicopters were inbound. 3 minutes out. They had to hold for 3 minutes. Against how many militants? Hard to say. At least 20 still fighting. Maybe more in buildings they hadn't cleared. At 3:27 a.m., the militants launched coordinated assault. Not random attacks. Organized push from 3 sides. Someone was commanding them. Someone with training. Someone who knew tactics. This wasn't lucky positioning. This was military operation. The operators met the assault with disciplined fire, overlapping sectors, controlled bursts, grenades at choke points. The militants came in waves. First wave cut down. Second wave got closer. Third wave reached 50 yards. Close enough to throw grenades. Close enough to be dangerous. Rodriguez saw the pattern. The militants were trying to get close enough to disrupt helicopter extraction. Smart. If they could threaten the landing zone, the helicopters couldn't land. The operators would be stuck. Reinforcements would arrive. The Americans would be surrounded, outnumbered, eventually overwhelmed. He radioed the helicopter pilots. LZ is hot. Heavy ground fire. 3-sided attack. Need gun runs before landing. The lead helicopter pilot responded. Copy. Breaking off approach. Making gun run. Clear the northern sector. The MH-60 came in low and fast. The door gunners opened fire. Minigun on one side. M240 on the other. The combined firepower was devastating. Militants caught in the open were shredded. Those behind cover were suppressed. The attack faltered. Broke. The survivors retreated. The helicopter circled for second run. Finished the job. At 3:30 a.m., the landing zone was clear. The helicopters landed. 2 birds. The operators loaded casualties first. No American casualties. But 1 hostage was injured. Hit by shrapnel during the ammunition explosion. Combat medic had stabilized her. She'd survive. Then captured militants. Zip-tied. Hooded. Loaded aboard. Then the operators. Last out. Covering each other. Professional withdrawal. At 3:37 a.m., all personnel were airborne. The compound was still burning, the ammunition storage still exploding, the armory still intact. Rodriguez radioed the command center. All personnel extracted. Request clearance for armory destruction. Cleared hot. Destroy armory. A drone orbiting overhead fired a Hellfire missile. Precision strike. The armory exploded. Massive fireball. Secondary explosions. The entire weapons cache destroyed. 80 AK-47. 30 RPGs. All the bomb-making materials. All gone. The Kenya hotel attack was stopped. Before it started. Before anyone died. Before terrorists even left the camp. At 4:15 a.m., the helicopters landed at the forward operating base. The hostages were transferred to medical. The captured militants to interrogation. The operators to debrief. 22 minutes of combat. 40 militants killed. 12 captured. 4 hostages rescued. 0 U.S. casualties. But the numbers don't tell the story. The captured commanders did. The interrogations took 3 days. CIA specialists, translators, intelligence analysts, building the picture, piece by piece. What they found was disturbing. This wasn't just one attack being planned. It was a campaign. The Kenya hotel was first target, but there were others. Shopping malls in Uganda, churches in Tanzania, government buildings in Ethiopia, coordinated attacks, all planned for February and March. Maximum casualties, maximum terror, maximum international attention. The camp had been central hub, training fighters, building bombs, coordinating operations. The commanders captured in the raid provided locations, name, plans. Within 2 weeks, partner forces in 5 countries conducted raids, disrupted cells, seized weapons, arrested operatives. The entire campaign was dismantled before a single attack occurred. The 4 hostages rescued told another story. 3 were aid workers, captured months earlier, held for ransom that was never paid, used as labor, as leverage, as propaganda tools. The 4th was a journalist, investigating al-Shabaab, captured researching a story. She'd been held for 7 months, thought she'd die in that camp. Instead, she walked out behind American operators who'd killed her captors. Her name was Elena Markovic, Croatian, freelance, journalist. She'd been reporting on terrorism in Africa for a decade. Her last article before capture had exposed al-Shabaab's financing networks. That's why they'd taken her. Not for ransom, for revenge, for silence. She was supposed to disappear. Instead, she became witness to the raid, to the rescue, to the intelligence seized. She wrote about it later. Her article won awards, described the 22 minutes from inside the command building. Chained, terrified, hearing explosions, gunfire, Arabic screaming, then silence, then English voices, American accents. Hostage located, the most beautiful words she'd ever heard. But she also wrote about what she'd seen during her captivity, the training, the planning, the scale of what al-Shabaab intended. The Kenya hotel was just the start. They wanted spectacular attacks, multiple countries, multiple targets, body counts in hundreds. They wanted to prove they were still relevant, still dangerous, still capable of mass terror. The raid stopped it. 22 minutes, 32 operators, 1 intelligence-driven mission, saved hundreds of lives, prevented international crisis, disrupted terrorist network that had taken years to build. Master Sergeant Rodriguez received Silver Star for his leadership. His team members received Bronze Stars. The helicopter crews received air medals. The intelligence analysts who'd found the camp received CIA commendations. Everyone involved was recognized, because everyone's contribution mattered. Intelligence found them, Operators eliminated them. Pilots extracted them. Medical saved them. Everyone did their part in 22 minutes of perfect execution. But here's what keeps Rodriguez awake: how close it came to not happening. The raid was authorized January 29th. The Kenya hotel attack was planned for February 14th. That's 16 days. Barely 2 weeks. If intelligence had been 1 week slower, if authorization had been delayed, if weather had scrubbed the mission, if anything had gone wrong, hundreds would have died. In hotels, malls, churches, across East Africa. 22 minutes of violence prevented weeks of terror. That's the math of special operations. That's the calculus of counterterrorism. Find them before they act. Kill them before they kill. Stop them before they start. It's ugly. It's brutal. It's necessary. The al-Shabaab leadership knows it now. Training camps aren't safe. Remote locations aren't sanctuary. American intelligence finds you. American operators kill you. American precision eliminates you. The raid sent message. Clear. Unmistakable. Plan attacks on civilians. We come for you. In darkness. With overwhelming force. Without warning. 3 months later, al-Shabaab released video. Acknowledging the raid. Claiming only 20 dead. Denying commanders were captured. Denying hostages were held. Denying the camp was used for attack planning. But also promising revenge. Threatening retaliation. Vowing continued resistance. Empty threats. The organization was disrupted. Leadership captured or killed. Weapons destroyed. Plans exposed. They'd rebuild eventually. They always do. But rebuilding takes time. Takes resources. Takes recruiting. Takes training. And every month they spend rebuilding is a month they're not attacking. That's victory in counterterrorism. Not eliminating the enemy. That's impossible. But disrupting them. Degrading them. Preventing attacks. Saving lives. Buying time. 22 minutes of raid buys months of safety. That's the trade. That's the mission. The camp in southern Somalia is abandoned now. Buildings burned. Structures collapsed. Ammunition craters everywhere. Nobody goes there. Too dangerous. Unexploded ordnance. Unstable structures. It's monument to what happened. To what was stopped. To what 32 operators accomplished in 22 minutes. Local villagers talk about that night. The helicopters. The explosions. The fires. They'd heard the camp was there. Everyone knew. But nobody spoke about it. Al-Shabaab doesn't forgive informants. Doesn't forget witnesses. Silence was survival. But after the raid, some talked. Told what they'd seen. The training. The foreigners coming through. The weapons being stockpiled. They'd known. For months. For years. But couldn't tell anyone. Couldn't risk al-Shabaab's revenge. Now they could speak. Because the camp was gone. The threat was neutralized. The silence could break. Intelligence gathered their testimony. Built fuller picture. The camp had been operating for 3 years. Trained over 200 fighters. Sent them across East Africa. To Kenya. Tanzania. Uganda. Ethiopia. Somalia itself. Each one trained in weapons. Tactics. Bomb-making. Each one ready to kill civilians. To create terror. To serve al-Shabaab's agenda. The raid ended it. 22 minutes. 40 killed. 12 captured. 4 rescued. 80 weapons destroyed. 30 RPGs eliminated. Tons of bomb-making materials neutralized. 3 years of infrastructure demolished. Hundreds of potential casualties prevented. That's the real story of January 31st. Not the tactical success, though it was. Not the operational perfection, though it was. But the attacks prevented. The lives saved. The terror stopped. before it started, before anyone died, before headlines could scream about another massacre, another tragedy, another failure to protect. 22 minutes of violence prevented weeks of terror. 32 operators saved hundreds of lives. One raid dismantled years of planning. That's what special operations accomplish. Not glory, not recognition, not headlines, just quiet prevention, invisible protection, unknown salvation. The 4 hostages know. Elena and the 3 aid workers. They tell their stories, give interviews, write articles. They explain what it means. To be captured, to be forgotten, to assume you'll die, then to hear American voices, to see American operators, to be carried to American helicopters, to be saved. They don't know Rodriguez's name, don't know his face, don't know his story. They just know he came, in darkness, with 31 others, killed their captors, broke their chains, carried them to freedom. In 22 minutes. That's enough. That's everything. That's what makes 22 minutes legendary. The raid on January 31st, 2026 was classified for 6 months. Then details were released. Carefully, selectively, enough to show success, not enough to compromise methods. The public learned about dead terrorists, rescued hostages, prevented attacks. They didn't learn about intelligence sources, operational tactics, future capabilities. But they learned enough to know that American Special Operations Forces are hunting terrorists, finding them in remote locations, eliminating them with precision, rescuing hostages, preventing attacks, doing it quietly, professionally, effectively. That's the deterrent. That's the message. Hide in Somalia. We'll find you. Plan attacks. We'll stop you. Take hostages. We'll free them. You're not safe. You're not hidden. You're not untouchable. We have intelligence. We have operators. We have capability. And we will use it. 22 minutes proved it. January 31st demonstrated it. The raid made it reality. Not theory. Not threat. Actual execution. Actual success. Actual prevention. That's what keeps terrorists awake now. Knowing that training camps can be eliminated. Plans can be exposed. Attacks can be prevented. All in 22 minutes. All by 32 operators. All before anyone dies. The next al-Shabaab commander planning the next attack has to wonder. Is intelligence watching? Are satellites tracking? Are operators preparing? Will helicopters come in darkness? Will 22 minutes end years of planning? Maybe. Maybe not. But the possibility changes everything. Makes planning harder. Makes security paramount. Makes every camp a potential target. Makes every night a possible raid night. Makes every success temporary. Makes survival uncertain. That's what 22 minutes accomplished. Not just 40 dead. Not just 12 captured. Not just 4 rescued. But doubt, fear, uncertainty in every terrorist mind. That maybe they're next. Maybe tonight. Maybe 22 minutes from now. And that doubt, that fear, that uncertainty, saves lives, prevents attacks, protects civilians, without firing a shot, without launching a raid, just existing as possibility, as threat, as consequence waiting to happen. That's the real victory, the invisible one, the unmeasured one, the attacks that never occur because planning is too risky. The operations abandoned because camps are too exposed. The hostages not taken because rescue is likely. All prevented. All saved. All invisible. Except to those 32 operators. They know. They understand. 22 minutes of violence creates months of deterrence. 40 killed creates hundreds saved. One successful raid creates dozens of prevented attacks. That's the mission. That's the purpose. That's what January 31st represents. Not just tactical success, strategic impact. Not just dead terrorists, lives saved. Not just one raid, entire campaigns prevented. 22 minutes, 32 operators, 40 killed, 12 captured, 4 rescued, hundreds saved. That's the legend. That's the truth. That's what makes it matter.